So we got the car back in the shop here. Guess I can go over most of the exterior with you first. So to start, I'm running Mad PSI wide front fenders with a custom vent to help evacuate, you know, any turbulent airflow in the wheel wells. We got I think the border side skirts, some Rocket Bunny flares that I modified to make fit this chassis. Pretty beat up though, they need a big refresh. The doors are a carbon fiber door. They only weigh about 12 pounds. So they saved a ton of weight. Basically, the weight I saved with the doors, I was able to put the cage in without really any added weight to the entire car. Obviously I don't run any glass in the window. We got polycarbonate rear quarter windows. These are some carbon T-tops. They don't really save too much weight over the glass, but they look pretty cool. I think they save like half a pound or a pound each. In the rear, let's see, we don't really have a lower skirt or anything like that, just a stock bumper, kooky taillights. This is just a 9 lives wing. This is a Campos F40 lid, fiberglass. It's been painted a few times. It needs some love again. Still beat up from the fire 3 years ago. This is a XV Racing trunk skin. It's literally just a skin. It weighs literally 3 pounds. It's pretty awesome. Anthony does some amazing work. As far as aesthetic stuff, that's mostly it. We have a complete flat floor, which I can show you guys on the when we get the car on the lift here. Right now we're running the Koenig decagram setup. I think they're 17 by 9 and 18 by 10 and a half. I like these wheels a lot. They're pretty good for what they are. Cheap wheels. They work really well. They've taken a lot of abuse, and I don't really have to be super concerned with how I handle them because they're cheap wheels. Let's see, it's just a stock front bumper with a Aeroware replica lip. The hood is a Advan Racing, and as you can see, it wasn't really built to really fit a ABS system, but that's all going to change hopefully this year. We'll make it fit a little bit better this off season. Here's the hood duct system that I built. It's pretty cool. Here we got some Poon Racing headlights. Mostly bought them for aesthetic reasons, and they also save quite a bit of money or quite a bit of weight over the pop-ups. This is our wood core, but carbon splitter. Been running it for years, and it seems to be holding up. There you go, some custom-made canards, clear head indicator lights. They're also beat up. Probably should be replaced. We got some APR mirrors. Had these since my first MR2 chassis. Let's go to the interior, huh? Start with the passenger side. There's no seat here. I do have a seat that can fit in here, but it's heavy, so I usually don't run it. I have a full fire suppression system right here. Has 2 nozzles aimed at the driver, and I think 4 nozzles in the engine bay in the case of another engine fire, if that were to happen. I also run another bottle, just a regular AFFF fire extinguisher system. That's just in case I need to get out and give this bottle to another driver if their car's on fire or whatever needs to happen. Let's see, the dash is about as light as you can get it, and then I flocked it. I would like to reassess that at some point, try to build my own fiberglass or carbon fiber version of it. The cage is, I think it's inch and a half or inch and 5/8 chromoly. I welded it all myself with the correct wire you need for it. It was all MIG welded. It was a big learning experience. It is tied in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. think it's an 8-point cage. Pretty bare bones cage because it is a time attack car, not really a wheel-to-wheel car. And the rear glass is now polycarbonate. Saved a few pounds. Something I really love is the steering wheel hook right here. This is just a pedal camera we got set up. We're just experimenting, playing with a few things. Underneath here we have the entire fuse box. This is the power or ABS, I believe, computer, just the stock one. And this is a defrost. This is just a heater core, kind of a race-oriented one to save some weight. I do have a defrost still, just in case. Those crispy fall mornings or spring mornings. As you can see, some of this wiring is just temporary for the pedal camera setup we were playing around with. Come over to the driver's side here. We can take that off. Just a quick release wheel. This is a Sparco wheel I've had forever. Basically one of the first mods I ever bought for my old car. Here we go. I'm running like a Hux version 1 shifter, OEM turbo shift cables still. Here's the master kill switch for the entire electrical system. This is your brake bias adjustment in the cabin, which is nice to have as conditions change while you're out on track. Here we have fuel pump, engine ECU, radiator fan, defrost, and then there's an extra circuit. Up here we have kind of our idiot lights. There is a check engine light, power steering light, ABS light, low beams, high beams, and then the other ones are blinkers, left or right. Here is my AIM Solo 2, just kind of a backup track timer. Here's the OEM blinker stock, still works. And it's also the headlight switch. Leave that off right now. This is the Race Capture Mark III. It is booting up right now on a Raspberry Pi kind of setup. That's my digital dash. It's pretty cool. Has built-in idiot alarms and stuff like that. So I've wired in via CAN bus oil pressure, oil temperature. So it keeps track of those and it gives me a warning. Here you can see we have kind of a warning dash, if you can read it here, for oil pressure. And obviously that's because we have no oil pressure right now, so it's giving me a warning. Fuel, RPM gauge, kind of like an S2000, it just builds as you left to right, as you build revs. Mostly lap timer stuff, and then engine temperature, and oil pressure on the bottom. Underneath here, stock pedal setup. Nothing too clever or fancy, it's really dark on the camera. OEM dead pedal. A Sparco fixed bucket mounted directly to the floor. So if you want to drive my car and you're my size, it might work. If you're not my size, it won't work. On the back firewall here, that's the Race Capture setup for the digital dash and lap timer. I think. So here you go. This is a 2GR, I believe, out of an RX 350 or a Toyota Sienna. They're basically the same. I run Monkey Wrench Racing Stage 1 cams and their cam springs in this engine. And I'm also running the full gauntlet of bolt-on stuff via Frankenstein Motor Works because his stuff frankly has great engineering and it works really well. So this is his Holley intake and it has the fancy machined part underneath. If you can see it, it's all 6 trumpeted intake ports for the intake manifold. And then it's a Frankenstein Motor Works 3.5-inch intake, Tundra throttle body. I'm now running a Alex Wilhelm coolant catch system. So it's basically always trying to burp itself, which is pretty cool. Seems to be working pretty well. This is a Toyota E350 transmission out of a Scion TC, a little bit better gear ratios than the E351. These things are cheap. The LSD costs, what, like 3 of the transmissions cost? So it has a Quaife helical LSD in it. Here's a motor mount that I made and lightened up considerably. Everything has been lightened about as much as I can. It's filthy in here. So there you can see Mark's headers, the cast stainless ones. This is a full custom wiring harness built from scratch by my friend Sean Fazel at Fazel Engineering. I can link him in the description if you guys want more about him. He did an amazing job. He wired the entire car. It's the only thing I haven't done on this car. He did it all. Let's see, here you can see the reservoirs for the Bob Pham 808 triple adjustable three-way coilover systems. These are the remote reservoirs. And then this is where you can adjust high speed compression, low speed compression, and then rebound is adjusted underneath the shock. Come over to the front of the car, about the hood. This hood's pretty sweet, only about 14 pounds. Fits pretty well. Here is the duct. This is a Mishimoto. It's like their 3-core, 3-pass radiator. It's their thick one for the MR2, race only. I don't think you could fit an AC condenser with it. Obviously, I've tilted it way forward to make it work with this duct system that I built. It's just out of sheet metal, just trying to match the angle of this, as smooth airflow as possible. I rarely see temperatures in the 200s on track, so water temperature is typically not an issue for this car. In here we are running completely stock OEM 1993 ABS 3-channel. Yeah, it works. It could be improved, but right now it works pretty well. We are running a Spider ABS pump, which is pretty cool. Saved quite a bit of weight over the OEM power steering system, and it seems to be working great. I'm running a somewhat thicker, I think it's like a 15/16 bore master cylinder for the braking system. And then here's the Wilhelm brake proportioning valve. This is the cord that goes to that adjuster I showed you guys in the cabin. Here you see the reservoirs for the 3-way coilovers. It's pretty cool. My buddy Gil 3D printed these awesome brackets for it. Here's anti-gravity, remote start or restart possible battery. Works awesome. I never even need the restart though system because I always have the power completely killed on this car now that I have a proper kill switch. And this big orb is actually a vacuum reservoir out of like some Volkswagen something or other, because I was finding I would run out of vacuum assist for the braking system when running really high revs, basically going into large brake zones with really high revs, and I'd have basically unassisted brakes when you needed the most braking power you could ever want. I had none, so that was scary, but I figured it out, and since I added the reservoir past the check valve, it has worked beautifully. Simple solution. All right, that's a lot of the car here. I can show you guys the suspension and exhaust and underbody here. Here we are inside the front wheel well. So first, I guess I could show you the splitter. We are running professional awesome splitter support rods, and then these are Fulcrum Engineering brake ducts that I've tried to rework a little bit to eliminate as much drag as possible. Underneath here you can see the splitter's seen some use. Titanium skid pucks right there on the front, and then on the sides here, these are just steel. And then some professional awesome splitter ramps. So typically I also run a brake duct from here to here, and currently those are going to get replaced because they're trashed after Thunderhill. So my splitter is literally supported by some old wing uprights. It's pretty cool. See if we can get a better light in here. There you go. Really dirty in here. Here are your Bob Fam three-way inverteds. Pretty sweet coilovers. I'm really liking them. They just work, man. They just grip. And I've had to adjust quite a bit of stuff on them, but finally dial them in. We are running, contrary to popular belief, this is a Trulio front knuckle. So he used to race Trump Car, and he built 20-something sets of these way before Alex offered his front billet knuckles. And I ended up getting a set of these. It runs a 370Z hub bearing setup. And, you know, it works for me, so don't need to upgrade yet. But I'm sure I will, at some point in the future, upgrade to the Wilhelm ones, which are a little bit better for adjusting camber, things like that, ABS, stuff like that. Obviously, Wilhelm, just your regular Wilwood big brake kit. I run ST43 pads from Ray Bestos when I can get them. Just a blank rotor. And the Wilhelm, obviously, geometry kit and his front arms on that. I am running a TRD sway bar. It's what came with the car so many years ago. The steering rack is OEM, except it does have a Spider pinion and then a Spider pneumatic pump system. Engineer freely sphericals where they can go. Stock lower control arm still. And here's where the splitter meets the rest of the flat floor. So the flat floor used to run all the way back through the entire car. Unfortunately, about midway through this season, I had a big off, which destroyed my very fancy diffuser. And so for the second half of the season, I just ran the floor like this to an open engine bay underneath. The entire flat floor is held on via the Zeus fasteners. So you can pop the two panels off here in about 10 minutes. Move on to the back. So the rear is where things get spicier than even the front. As you guys might know, I helped Alex prototype and test his double A-arm kit. So this car is running a double A-arm rear suspension, basically kind of like a double wishbone. This is just your regular brake line. It was reworked after the fire. Wilhelm tie rods, you know, what was left of his geometry kit from stock. Obviously his rear brake kit. I do not run a parking brake. Try to make this car as light as I can. This was part of his double A-arm kit, just an adjustable rear rod there. Bob Fam's coilovers. And these are just what you have to weld in, these actual pockets here that these bolt onto. Overall, this changes the car dramatically. It is just so easy to drive at the limit. You can get loose on it, you can get sideways on it, and it just complies, it comes back, it doesn't snap on you nearly as bad as it used to. Overall, really awesome mod. This car handles really well with it. A little fly underneath here. Okay, so usually this was all sealed up with a big aluminum pan, but I have not been running that. So since the diffuser broke on me, I do not have a OEM trunk floor. I basically cut it out and made this out of Alumilite to be the trunk floor to make room for the exhaust to be higher. This is all to fit the big diffuser that I was running. So this is just a stainless exhaust I threw together. It's got a catalytic high flow cat in the tip, kind of rally style. That's that triangle, just to keep you from blowing the actual cat contents out. And then this is just a muffler, just a really small straight through muffler. Helps eliminate a little bit of rasp. Doesn't do much. This is all 3-inch. This is just an old school Wilhelm Y-pipe, one of his first ones. And I've modified it to fit Mark's headers. So that works pretty well. The axles are literally the, what are they, track motive axles for the E350 swap. And then I re-grease them with Redline. I run a high quality grease in them. And then I actually vent the boots too. If you see this little straw right there, that's just a tiny little brass tube, a copper tube, that helps vent the boots. Underneath here in the engine, we have a Wilhelm baffle in the sump. What else? Oh, here's our oil cooler lines, if you can see them. Man, you really can't. Here you go. Oil cooler lines. We have a side mount oil cooler, again, a Wilhelm thing. You know, most of this car is built by him and Mark at Frankenstein. They make stuff that works pretty well. So, also there's your rear mount for the E350 trans. And anything else important up down under here? Not really. I still run the burnt plate from the fire, kind of a reminder. Car is still street driven. That's how I test my alignments, test the drivability of the car on the street before track events. So, as you guys have already seen. So there you go. That's most of the secrets behind the curtain here of the Apex Attack MR2. You know, it's a simple build. I try to build for reliability and focus on seat time to learn to drive the best I can. And it only makes about maybe 320 wheel horsepower, but it also only weighs 2250. So it's a pretty light car. And we're hoping this off season to shed a few more pounds out of it and maybe make a little bit more power. And we'll keep squeezing that lemon until it, you know, goes dry on us here. Cool. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions.